So you're going to be a landlord. What sort of landlord are you going to be? Now that sounds like a daft question, but I'm actually quite serious when I say that, because when I started to be a landlord, I didn't know what sort of landlord I was going to be. One of the things I did know is I wasn't going to pay huge amounts of money to agents who effectively sat on their hands. So I struggled with this one. So the question is, do you want to be an armchair investor, or are you going to be more involved in the management of your property? And I would say what you want to do is you want to set your network up in such a way that it doesn't consume too much of your time, but you're comfortable with the amount of control you have over the property that you're leasing. So when I say armchair investor, what do I mean? So an armchair investor typically will hand cash over to somebody else, and they will manage your portfolio for you. And if you've got a good one, every month you get a check, okay? And that check is effectively your return. You have very little control over who is in your property. You have no control over the management of your property, pretty much, because you've handed that all over, and you're paying somebody else for a fully managed service. That's what armchair investing really means to me. I personally do not advocate this. It's your money. You should have some control and say over how that money is managed, especially if you end up having people in the property that you need to, or the agent needs to get out. What are your guarantees for your income stream if you've handed all the money over to somebody else and they control the whole thing? You're completely at their mercy. The other end of the spectrum, of course, is you do everything yourself. So let's face it, there are guys out there who have got such large portfolios that they are actually actively managing everything around their portfolios themselves. Right? It's become their job, right, to manage the portfolio. Again, I'm not there either. I don't manage everything to do with my portfolio. And I tell you the reason why is because it is not my primary job. As I said in the sort of the channel modus for this channel, I work here. All right, it may look a bit of a bland office, but this is my office, and I'm recording this from my office, and I quite enjoy the job, if I'm honest. So at the moment, I'm not prepared to give up this job to become a full-time landlord. So my model is somewhere in between, and your model may be different, okay, to my model. But I'll tell you how my model works. So for starters, do not find tenants. I pay somebody to find my tenants for me when I have a void on a property. And by and large, the people that I have found in a couple of areas where I have properties are very good at minimising my voids. So if a tenant writes to me and says they want to vacate a property, typically they will have to give me 1 month's notice. Most of them give me a few months' notice, which is great, because that's the kind of relationship I have with my tenants. And then I engage my tenant finding services, and they go off and find me tenants. They do all the referencing for me, things like right to reside, all that sort of stuff, and come back to me with a proposition. And if I'm happy with the proposition, they then draw up the contracts for me. I sign them, tenant signs them, tenant moves in. Okay, and I pay them a fee for that. Now, why do I do that? Well, I'll tell you why I do that is because the whole area around letting it to a tenant is a minefield. Okay, as far as I can see, and there will be videos up saying various things about finding tenants and letting to tenants and the landlord's responsibilities, etc., etc. Now, if I pay a tenant finding service to do that for me, then if there is a problem down the line, I can go back to them. I have a route of recourse. That's personal. Okay, the other side of it is the rents for my properties are paid to me. They are not paid to an agent, they are paid to me. If I have an agent involved in doing something for me, I pay the agent for their services. I do not allow them to have the rent paid to them and then pay the rent to me. That's another personal preference. You may decide you want to do it in a different way. Okay, so I manage the finances. In terms of the repairs of the properties, now again, I have some fairly good agents that I work with in terms of my portfolio, and they have various tradesmen at their disposal. So some repairs I may do myself. And the reason I may do them myself is because I just fancy keeping my hand in. It's as simple as that. It's got nothing to do with saving money or cost, because I'm a businessman, I work in a different industry, and my time is precious. Now, sometimes I enjoy doing this stuff, so I decide that I'm going to go and replace something or repair something because that's my choice. On other times, what I will do is I will engage a tradesman to go and do it for me. Now, I also know the limitations of my skill set. Okay, that's another thing you need to bear in mind when you're a landlord. Now, if you have no DIY skills, accept you have no DIY skills, and budget to have tradesmen do stuff for you when things need to be done. If you do have some skills, then maybe you want to do the skills that way. Remember, if you pay somebody to do something, ensure you get a professional job back. A lot of landlords get ripped off because tradesmen see it as a buy-to-let and therefore do an inferior job. If you're the sort of landlord who, and I've seen friends of mine who have gone down this route, who have passed everything over to an agent. Agents looked after the property. After 4, 5, 6 years or so, the landlord has gone and had a look at the property and it's in a dire state. And that's because the landlord has not been managing the property correctly. And that's one of the reasons why I do some of this myself. But you need to work out what type of landlord you want to be, and how hands-on you want to be, and how much control you need. You know, I'm not preaching this, I'm saying this is a very, very important decision you need to make when you've bought a property and you're going to rent it, you're about to buy a property, or you're about to expand your portfolio. These are all decision points where you need to decide what sort of landlord you want to be, and do you want to expand your involvement or contract your involvement. Once you've decided that, you can then make appropriate investment decisions about what type of property you want to buy, because the type of landlord you are dictates the type of property you may be interested in. If you want to be a hands-off landlord, then buying a property that needs a lot of maintenance doing to it, or maybe deciding to stand up an HMO, may not be the right strategic decision for your landlord career. So, what sort of landlord are you going to be? The contents of the video you've just watched does not constitute advice. It's my opinion and my reading of the subject matter that I've been discussing. If you like what you heard, of course, feel free to subscribe. Somewhere, either here or here, will be a subscription button. Click the subscription button and you'll be notified when videos are posted to the channel. Somewhere here or here will also be recent videos from the channel and maybe other videos relating to this subject matter. I look forward to you subscribing and joining me on my journey and your journey as an accidental landlord.